Hello, this is Brother Timothy Earl Hoskins from the Lord's House of Prayer in Jackson, Tennessee, coming to you today on another wonderful Sabbath. I put an older video on last night about the Masonic Lodge. It's probably one of the first two or three that I actually ever uploaded on here. And I hope you got to see that. If you didn't, go back and look at it. You'll get my feelings and views on what I think about that organization and what I think about, if somebody's in it to get out of it. Thinking about joining, you don't need it. It's no good for you. All it does is give you a place to go hide when you do something wrong. Today I want to talk about something else, and I've kind of been experiencing some of these issues myself. I had a lot of experiences with the Masonic Lodge, especially back home where I'm from in Camden, Tennessee, and somewhat, all the way down through, but not as much. Now here lately some. But when I started on my walk with God, I ended up getting saved up at Nancy Trace Park, and I would go into churches and visit different ones and things, and it seems like some of them you kind of expect people of the world, or they're in the world, like Masons or people that have no idea of God, that how they can do things or say things or think they're a little bit better and able to tell other people what they ought to do and plan out stuff for them. But it's kind of a little bit, it's always bothered me when people that's in the church think they can do that without talking to you. And I've never understood that. I've never in my life went behind somebody's back to do something or to plan out something or manipulate something to either get them to act a certain way or make a certain decision or take a certain job or ask out a certain woman or go on a certain vacation or whatever. I've never tried to do that with anybody, and it's always amazed me how that goes on, and then everything could have been taken care of with just a simple, hey, are you interested in this? Do you want to do this? Is this something you're looking at? But it's never done. It's always, we're going to take away decisions you can make and make you make this one. And then if you don't make that one, we're going to get mad at you and start harassing you and taking everything away from you because you didn't do what we wanted. And there's a lot of people like that. And that's kind of what I want to take on today. And the Masons do it. And the Masons do it because they want to make sure that they control people and take care of the lodge. And I think people in the church are the same way to a point. They like to be in control of something. It's like if you've been baptized, they want to tell you, well, if you come to this church, you got to get rebaptized because they didn't know how to do it right. So they got to be in control of your baptism, or they got to be in control of your salvation, or they got to be in control of your relationship with God because they know more because, you're coming to them, so they know more. And it's really, really aggravating, and it really puts can put a lot of pressure on you. And it's something I've experienced many times down through the years. I thought at my age now, and with how solid I am with God and walking on the right path, that I wouldn't have that happen again, but it did. It's really amazing. For about 5 days, I was pretty upset about it, and I alluded to this in another. And now it's comical again because it's a lot of effort after foolishness. But that's kind of what I want to talk about. The Masons do this, but people in the church do it too. And I want to talk about some things. I'm going to start off in 1 Peter 4:15. It says, "But let none of you suffer as a murderer, or as a thief, or as an evildoer, or as a busybody in other men's matters." So, if you do something that you shouldn't do, then there's probably going to be some bad, somebody's going to say something to you, or you're going to have if you run a stop sign like I've done at one time, you have to pay a fine, especially if you do it right in front of a cop like I did. You have to pay a fine. Or if you get caught speeding, or if you do something you shouldn't do, then it says you will suffer, or there'll be consequences for that. And it says, as a busybody in other men's matters, which is, my terminology, sticking your nose where it doesn't belong without asking and thinking you know what's best for somebody when you've never talked to them about it. How can you possibly know that? How can you possibly know that? And what even makes things like this worse is it's not only one instance. Not only do they have that one, and if that one don't work, then they got about 4 more in line. So if that one don't work, we'll do this one. If that one don't work, we'll do this one. And it never ends. And it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. So, and in 16 it goes on to say, but if you suffer persecutions for Christ and that, then that's fine. Because you would rather suffer persecutions for doing good than for doing something that's wrong. In 1 Thessalonians 3:11, it says, for even when we were with you, this we commanded you, that if any would not work, neither should he eat. For we hear that there are some which walk among you disorderly, working not at all, but are busybodies. And you can see that at places of work. You got other people are busting their hump, and somebody's sitting back there on the cell phone or texting or on the computer or something, not doing anything. And that's the person that's got the idle hands and the wandering mind and sticking their nose where it don't belong. And they're just busybodies. They always got to be in somebody else's affairs. They always got to be making fun of somebody else. They always got to be tearing down somebody else. They always got to be trying to destroy somebody else to lift their own self up. And that's what they do. And here's one way that they do this. I'm going to go into Proverbs 26 and 27. It says that these people will dig pits and snares to try to trap the good people, to get you in a position where you can't say anything, or where you can't do anything, or whether if you do, everybody's going to accuse you for standing up for yourself. And then this is pits and snares. And it says Proverbs 26 and 27, whoso diggeth a pit shall fall therein, and he that rolleth a stone, it will return upon him. So the people that are doing this are going to find out they're digging the pit for themselves. And if they roll in a stone, it's going to return to them. I mean, they're not even where they need to be with God to know that if they're intentionally doing this to try to hurt somebody or to cause somebody pain or to manipulate a situation, that's going to come back on them and they're going to fall into their own pits and get caught in their own snares. But it's people that are busybodies. And sometimes they even work in conjunction with the Masonic Lodge. I made a comment on that when I put up last night. I overheard a conversation about a man being an elder and a Mason. It's impossible. I mean, it's impossible to be both. You don't even know who your master is, or you don't even know what light is in your life. The light of Christ or the light of the Lodge. You can't be both. It tells you not to be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. Okay, that's what the Masonic Lodge is, unbelievers. But these busybodies in the church, and I would think they're probably, like I said, you can expect that from Mason. But these busybodies in the church, you don't really expect it. You think, well, we're gonna do this, and everybody's going in the right way, and before you know it, you're in a situation you should have never been in, because nobody asked, nobody talked to you, and the only times you'd ever said anything about the situation was that you didn't want to get involved in it. So it's amazing to me that stuff like that happens. And if it is, there's some ulterior motive. It's because people want to, they just want to put you in a position where everything is on you and they don't have any responsibility for anything because everything they did is right. They can run off to their lodge or their church and get somebody to tell them what they did was right. Okay, in Proverbs 28 and 10, it says, whoso causeth the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit, but the upright shall have good things in possession. So the people that did this and constantly manipulate these situations and constantly put you in a bad situation are going to be caught in their own pits and their own snares. And the person they're trying to do it to is going to see good things happen to him or her or whoever it may be. Proverbs 7:15-17, and this is the one I want to end up on, says, He made a pit and digged it, and is fallen into the ditch which he made. His mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealing shall come down upon his own pate. I will praise the Lord according to his righteousness, and will sing praise to the name of the Lord Most High. So, just remember that the people that are doing this are going to fall into their own pit and get caught in their own snares and have their own, because what they did was wrong in the first place. It was a manipulation. It was an intent to bring about harm to someone else. It was an intent to bring about maybe even a total destruction of somebody's life. Because whatever the reason was, they were jealous. They just didn't like them. If I don't like somebody, I just don't have, I just stay away from them. I don't have anything to do with them. I don't seek out conversations with them. I don't do that. But other people, if they don't like you, they think they got a right to threaten you. They think they've got a right to bully you. They think they've got a right to arrest you just because they don't like you. I think you ought to just leave those people alone. But we see here that the Bible talks about busybodies, and they're out there all the time. And I'm saying this because I'm going through it right now, and I'm experiencing it right now, and have been for about the last month or so. And it's something, as I said before, that at my age, and with the honesty I've approached everything with, and the integrity I've approached everything with, and talking to people, that I didn't think it would ever happen again. Not with where I was at. I did not believe it would happen again. But it did. And I guess that's my own naivete or whatever. But I know God's in charge of that. And as it says here, these busybodies, God knows who they are. He knows what they're doing. They're digging pits and snares to try to entrap you or try to cause you harm or cause you bad feelings, or maybe make your job harder, maybe make your relationships harder, whatever they're doing. And they will fall in it themselves. They will be caught in their own pits and snares. And at some time there will be a payment to be made for that. And it'll be God that'll exact that payment. And it won't be me or anybody else, but it's going to be God. And the Bible's clear about it. It says, dig a pit and you're going to fall in it. Set a snare or a trap for somebody and you're going to get caught in it. And I just leave it with it. It says that, we go back to Proverbs 28:10, whoso causes the righteous to go astray in an evil way, he shall fall himself into his own pit, but the upright shall have good things in possession. So if you're going through that, and I know some of you are, I'm relating this to my own situation, but this is for you. This is for all of y'all out there. If you're going through this, keep in mind that these people are going to get caught in their own games, in their own messed up heads, in their own pits, in their own snares, and you're the one that's going to come out on the good side of it. And the sad part of all of this is, most of the time, and in my situation, it all could have been avoided if somebody had to just ask, or somebody had to talk to me, or somebody had to, just said, are you interested in this? Do you want to do this? What's the deal? And it was never done because they wanted to use it to set pits and snares and to cause problems. And if they'll do it to me, they can do it to you. And if it's going